Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about Unwelcome. Let me back out of this real quick. Hold on. So, went on Shudder and I'm looking. I see Unwelcome, a film where a couple moves into a home in Ireland, and they have to feed the goblins, or else something bad's gonna happen. So the film starts out with the couple at home having a good night, taking a pee test to see if she's pregnant, and she's pregnant. So the guy goes to celebrate, and it looks like he just goes to a corner store and buys non-alcoholic, not champagne, but something similar. And there's a small three-man gang hanging out, and they're harassing the guy a little bit. He goes in, he gets his shit, and he comes out. And they harass him again for a little bit, and for some fucked up reason, he decides, I'm going to tell the gang to fuck off, throws them the middle finger, and flat out says his girlfriend is pregnant. Why would you tell a three-man gang, any man gang, of ruffians hanging out at the corner store of any sort of vulnerability is beyond me. But he does, and tells them basically to go fuck themselves sideways. So while she is in the bathroom celebrating the joyous pee, they break in and beat the shit out of the guy. And she's on the phone with the police, and they break into the bathroom. And they threaten basically to do some stuff to her. And he is battered in the corner. Not even in the corner, just in the middle of the room, laying there, roughed up, crying, not doing anything, and she's there pleading for her life. And then they leave because the police show up. Well, during this whole time, the guy's aunt or something dies and bequeaths her house to them. So they move out to Ireland. They move out to Ireland to this new home to get away from all the ruffians that, Pussy Boy can't do a damn thing about because, he's a fucking idiot. So they go out to Ireland and they start making friends with the community because everybody knows the aunt. And it's to the point where it's a little awkward, but I don't know the Irish hospitality. The entire community comes together and welcomes them, and everybody's happy. But the town drunk, he's gone. And so is his dog. But they don't know what's going on. So as the film goes on, we learn that the child of the aunt, I think it was, I don't know, some of the some of the dialogue was so low I couldn't really follow everything. The baby had died. But the priest of the town had said that there were more shenanigans involved than just simply the baby died. So they continue to live in the house, and they are dealing with contractors. And the one guy throws a shit fit if you don't call him Danny. And I initially thought he wanted to be called Daddy. Again, audio levels. But regardless. So him, his son, daughter, and mentally damaged son, because he beats the shit out of him, very big, bulky guy, he beats the shit out of the kid constantly because, as it's explained later, I guess the wife died during childbirth for him, and the father hates the kid, loves the kid, but hates him because the wife died. So he takes his shit out on the mentally challenged child. And as the story progresses, she kind of defends the guy, who later randomly decides, I'm going to fucking kill you because you have been nice. In come the goblins. And that's what sets off the entire friggin' string of bullshit. The son and the daughter have an entitledness to them, and all they do is basically take advantage of situations. When they're working on the house, they just take shit. They take food, whatnot. The guy, Jamie, gets pissed off and stands up to everybody every once in a while. All he really does is yell and cry. That's all that really happens. Meanwhile, Danny gets more pissed off because nobody's calling him Danny. But, as I said, the goblins show up and they help the woman. They help the woman by offing the mentally challenged would-be killer. The story progresses where one of the goblins brings his head in a freaking shopping bag, puts it down, smells her twat, and something baby. So they realize she has a baby. She is more and more learning about the situation with the goblins. She feeds them at one point and finds the drunk's dog who is in that area. The family, I forget the name, I'm just going to call them the Cunninghams, because I do not remember the family name. They want to know where the child is, where the mentally challenged guy is. So they go to the house because they assume they know where he is. And when they break into the house, because they're tired of the guy's bullshit, they find the head. And during this altercation, she goes to the goblins and pleads for them to help them, which they do, which goes into some of the best CGI and practical work that I've seen in a long time in a movie. and the goblins just lay siege to the intruders. And it's freaking fantastic. I loved the fight scene. And I love the tension with everything. Because things die. You're rooting for the goblins, and some of them die. And I felt bad for the goblins. And I'm going into spoiler territory. I've already said a couple of spoilers, but some of the things you can already have figured out as the film goes along. If you've seen Leprechaun, you know there's going to be something with the autistic child, if you will. I loved the fight scene. I loved the way one of them is just cut wide open, and they can't even begin to process what's going on. There is a bonding moment between the father and the son as he's in his father's arms. Basically, a lot of crying from Jamie, the boyfriend. Whole film, it's all he does, is get drunk and cry because he's a quarter Irish. They make that a note of the film. I don't know if that's supposed to be some sort of stereotype, but there is stereotypes with Danny calling the wife basically she has a home birth. Baby's fine. And then Jamie wraps himself up, heals himself up and everything. He goes outside and he goes to clean the car. The family's car, to get rid of the evidence that somebody was there. Well, while the baby is all cleaned up and, sleeping, the goblins come and take the baby. And of course, she's screaming for him to help out, and he's got his friggin' headphones on. He ain't paying attention. He doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Absolutely goddamn useless of a human being. So she goes looking for her baby. Bear in mind, she just gave birth a few hours later and just dealt with a home invasion of 3 people. Again, similar to the situation at home, where Numbnuts did basically fuck all. And in this scene, he actually had some balls, but he immediately stops. He gains the upper hand. No joke, he just stops and cries. And then they get the upper hand. It was such horrible writing. I literally just couldn't help but laugh. It was so bad. So she goes and she goes back to the home where the goblins are, enters the sanctuary that she had been in a couple of times, and she finds the baby. But she also finds the grown baby that was alluded to earlier. So she finds that child, who can now talk. I'm assuming the goblins taught her perfect English, even though they don't speak perfect English. So she's got the mentality of like a 5-year-old, and she wants the baby because baby! She wants to raise a baby. The mother, I genuinely don't remember her name. It's not a shot at her. I just don't recall the person's name, because Jamie had his name yelled so many times, I remember him, because his character was such ass, and Danny, because that was his freaking thing. He wanted to be called Danny. So, she goes on the offensive, kills one of the goblins, kills the baby, not her baby, but the baby mentality adult that's there that's controlling the goblins, and the goblins had started dancing and praising and whatnot. Cut to Jamie, who's realizing that the baby is in the house, but the woman isn't. So he starts panicking, looking around, goes outside. You go out to the front yard, there she is, having a mental breakdown, it looks like, as the goblins are all dancing around her, and then she just drops to her knees, smiling. This half-broken skull of this is horrible CGI of it, just floats on in and pours blood all over her. And she just starts smiling and laughing, and she's so happy. She is now the leader of the goblins. She is now the replacement for the child that had grown up because they took the baby. So she is now leader of the goblins. And she is just there. And then it rains. Out of nowhere, it just starts raining. And Jamie is standing there holding the baby, and he screams like Troll 2, "Oh my god!" It's essentially that scream. And starts crying. End of the goddamn movie with a close-up of her face. I don't know what the fuck to think. I was on board with the movie initially, but like I said, I hated Jamie. I absolutely hated the Jamie character. They made him the most ineffective main character. He did fuck all, and every time he started to have a moment where, okay, his character is going to be redeemed, he literally just stops when he has the upper hand and cries. He exists, as Dana said, to cry and look pretty. That was his whole role in the film, akin to Farm, where, in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, a girl intrudes on 2 brothers' homes and literally gets the one killed because, woman, she existed. She couldn't do anything, she was so incompetent, literally brought the zombies in, killed the one, got the one brother killed. That is essentially this movie in a friggin' nutshell. And I was all on board with the movie for the most part, until that ending. and my mouth agape in total shock. And then as the credits began to roll, I just burst out laughing. Hands down, one of the worst endings, and it seriously just destroyed what little I liked about the film. The Shudder rating had 5 red skulls. I can't even give it a 2 at this point. The movie was good for what it was. I enjoyed the ride, until that bullshit ending that alludes to there might be a sequel, but we're not going to get a sequel to this film. And what would be the point? What's she going to do? Try and overtake the entire Irish town with the goblins? It was so stupid. There were a million different ways they could have ended that film to save the baby, or have her become the leader of the goblins and just never be seen again, to where Crybaby Jamie and the baby are the only two. Like, they don't know what happened to her. She is gone. You would imagine that would be the way they go. Nope, she's bathed in blood, Evil Dead remake style, but instead of raining blood like Slayer would say, it was just rain that washed away the blood. It was the dumbest goddamn ending, and it ruined the entire experience for me. I cannot recommend the film at all, based simply on that, because that ending... you could have a good movie, and you could have a shit ending, and that shit ending will ruin the entire experience. It's the same thing with that HOA game, HOA, that's on Xbox Game Pass right now. I played that, and the ending just completely ruined the game for me. Absolutely hated it. Didn't want to touch it again. That is this movie. And it's unfortunate because everybody, aside Jamie, did their damnedest. They did a damn good job. I really got into the characters. I believed the tension. I believed that they kept getting stuck in these situations where they couldn't break free of everybody else basically having some form of control. You know? Of being terrorized to one level or the other. So yeah, I cannot, by any good faith, recommend Unwelcomed. I get the feeling there's an alternate ending out there where she does just disappear with the goblins. But they opted for the most over-the-top, nonsensical, what-the-fuckery ending. I don't know why. Probably test audiences. Because fuck test audiences. And that's Unwelcome. A 104-minute experience I regret. Thank you for putting up with my rant about a movie.